Welcome everyone to Voice of Terminus show number 38. Today's topic is the race discussion, the Halflings. I'm here with Kodiak. Say hello, Kodiak.
Good afternoon.
Say hello, Lex.
What's up, people?
And before we get into the Halflings, we need to... Oh, there we go. The alarm that we're getting ready to stream. Before we get into the Halflings discussion itself, I want to quickly address last week's show, the Darkmere. Because before I had to go to work after we did the show the day after, we talked a bit about it in our Discord channel. Mortanos, Sintro, myself, and Dark I think was also involved in it, Dark Soul Omega. And Sintro and Mortanos pointed something out that we kind of addressed, and after giving it some thought, we realised that our initial assumption of what that being would be that was floating over the sky, watching the Darkmere basically come onto the land, trying to, save themselves from drowning, etc. The being called Ermos, or Ermos, is actually, could very most likely be a dragon kind. As we know, on the world of Terminus, there used to be a lot of dragon kind, the Dragon Accord, etc. So the being that is called Ermos by the Darkmere is most likely to be a dragon or dragon kind. That's the serious note that we wanted to address for last week's show, and now we have something funny to bring up. And this was posted in our Discord channel by Dark Soul Omega, and I had to bring it up. It's coming onto your screen right now. Tinfoil Hat History presents Lexa is a time traveler. As soon as I saw that, I had to bring that up. It had to be brought up and put into the show. Dark, you made my day posting that. When I saw that, it was very funny. I actually like it. And I'm going to have to go and see if somebody in China can actually produce that doll, and we'll have to go in there, offer them as giveaways on our show.
I'm laughing, but I hate you all.
Oh, that's funny stuff. That was awesome.
Hey, just be glad you were a G.I. Joe.
Yeah,
you know?
Very true.
Right.
Been My Little Pony.
So,
Yeah.
let's get into the discussion of the Halflings. And I'm going to go and read off the short description. A fiery, youthful race filled with mirth, recklessness and charm, but the exuberance of the Halflings masks an ancient curse. Right, before we get into all the lore parts and all the interesting stuff, I want to ask you two guys, what's your first initial thought when you see the image of the Halflings and what you guys have maybe heard and read upon? What's your initial take on these Halflings as a race? And we'll start off with Kodiak.
All right. Just from looking at them or whatever, of course you're gonna think, tree hugger, rogues, rangers, druids, small, probably about the size of a dwarf, young, and they're cursed or whatever to be young forever. Forever young.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Lex, what's your take?
Well, from the initial description, it makes me kind of feel like the stereotypical halfling. They're childish, they're very carefree, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I'm kind of wanting something a little different.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right, so let's go and get into the lore. I did my reading, and we're going to go and start off basically. I'm going to go through the lore, and I actually made some notes, but we'll get into those as we go through it. So we're going to start off with first on the Halflings. A refreshing blend of madness and mirth, the Halflings of Wild's End have a youthful exuberance that never dims and a resolute spirit that makes them undefeatable. With the effortless stealth of a wolf and the devious charm of a child, there are few circumstances in which a halfling cannot work for the upper hand, especially in the trees of their home. Therefore, their reduced stature is an advantage, an unassuming and agile extension of their personalities and gifts, whether in danger, discourse, or dance. So that's basically the introduction into the Halflings. And we'll basically go into the tale of the Halflings. It's said that if you spend one day on Terminus, spend it in the company of the Halflings and their hideaway town. An inherent mirth and musicality sit atop their combustible depth, which make friendships easy, passions inflammatory, and loyalty inescapable. And like many of the castaways on this globe, the Halflings were not always so composed. At one time, a people of full stature, their lot was to roam across the vastness of their ancient homeworld, Hirith, or Hirith, however you want to pronounce it. We kind of tried to come up with these pronunciations
it's
before the show. Yep, it's definitely a tongue twister. Under constant fear for their survival. So there's the first initial indication of, an interesting point that's been put out there. The Halflings weren't always Halflings. They were of full stature, so they were basically similar to the humans. Mm-hmm. And they were always under constant fear for their survival, and they never really had anything to call themselves home.
They're kind of like gypsies. They moved around a lot.
Yeah. We can go and I'm going to go and read now from the actual lore scripture excerpt from the Maiden and the Lad. On the run, Marthos spoke. We are always on the run. We never had a home, never a perch from which to look over ourselves. Not a time by which we pace our work or rest. Not a place from which we depart and to which we return. We've barely existed because we've never stayed in one place long enough to change it. Father, you have spoken to me the tales of our flight since I was a child, and I have heard in those pages a line unspoken. For Kieran, the ward of flame, revealed himself to me in the wood, as he has so many of our people since first sight of his appearing. Yet I believe he means us not to run. I believe he means us to fight. So that's basically something else that was revealed, like Kodiak already brought up. They never really had a home for themselves, and they were constantly on the run. Unless they seem to have had beings, gods, or whatever you want to call them, also on their home planet of Hirith, looking over them. And the first indication was this ward of flame that calls himself Kieran, or what they call Kieran. And it carries on, basically, with their lore, saying, thereby, through the people known as the Kiri, was the town of Kieran Sound born, a name taken to honour their protector, Kieran, the ward of flame, for there were 6 wards of Hirith. Though Kieran loved this race above them all, and they had adopted his name in thankfulness to his care, but the ward of flame was not charged to watch over the Kiri. Rather, he was to rule over a race beneath the surface of Hirith. Yet Kiri loved the light and his people. Though as punishment for his rebellion, he was sworn to never speak to the Kiri, yet could lead them in silence for a time. And there's another interesting insight into the lore of the Halflings on their home planet. There seem to have been multiple races on their planet, and this ward of flame, there seems to be 6 wards on their planet, was meant to rule the other race, basically look over the other race, and he was punished obviously for actually enjoying the way the so-called Kiri lived on their planet. They seemed to live on the surface and enjoy light, bright stuff. You guys still following me there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am.
All right, so
I've got a couple questions so far, but I'll wait till the end.
Okay. So, but in this hour, the discreetment and bravery of a young Kiri named Marthas rallied his nomadic race to claim a land for their own. For many years they had feebly escaped from one habitation to the next, fleeing a dodge adversary known as the Ferath. Yet in the mountains of Omel Mathras led a defence against the Ferath. In the height of the battle, the ward Kieran added to the first sight and granted him a first magic to wield fire. From this the Ferath retreated, never to threaten the people again, and so too did Ward of Flame forever depart, never having uttered a single word to the race he so long watched over. So basically they had a major battle, and there seemed to have been another adversary known as the Ferath, and they seem to be a nomadic race. So you could basically put them almost equal to maybe barbarians or something like that. So they might even actually be a bit larger than the human race originally. And obviously Kieran basically disappeared and left them to be. So basically it carries on with the lore saying Kieran Sound prospered in short order. The young mountain town, benefiting from residents proud to till, clear and build upon their own land. Before long it behaved more like a kingdom. And after Mathras, rule was passed through a line of monarchs until the coronation of King Olenspeth III. Yet on that night the new king personified the soft luxury of Kieran Sound's era of fortune, imbibing the present and hazy on the past. For the mountains of Omel held another kingdom far below its heights, the realm of Molsh, the Laughing Wraith, king of spectres. Kieran's gift to Mathras had caught the Laughing Wraith's attention long ago, and on this night he sought to ensnare his descendants. So here we have it, basically the kingdom underneath this, underneath the Kiri is basically the Molsh, and before a king came into coronation, it seemed to be that their bloodline was made out of monarchs of such, so not directly kings, but similar to a king. But then they basically brought in the king of Olenspeth, and it gets really interesting. Now this is where it gets really interesting about what happened and how the Halflings came to be. So let's get into it. Pretending to honour King Olenspeth, a disguised Molsh presented the choice of two gifts to the regent: eternal life or a reign of peace. When the naive king chose to never die, the Laughing Wraith howled for glee and revealed himself. Soaring above the assembly, he cursed the entire population with a birthright affliction that would diminish their physical maturity of the next 10 generations. The last generation of the race would be born only as souls, which Molsh foretold with a sequel would be used to restore him to physical life, along with the might of the first magic. King Olenspeth was granted his portion, however, fated to watch his people disappear into ethereal subjugation. So they were basically cursed, and it seems to be that this Molsh figure was not of a physical body or a physical element, so it seems to have been that he was a soul himself or some kind, and this curse basically made this race become what we know now as the Halflings. And for basically 10 generations this curse would basically carry on through their race, and they would basically, on the 10th generation, when that would come into play, they would be nothing but souls. Similar to what we know about the gnomes being, from another planet and not having a physical body. So that's what would have happened to the Halflings. But to make the story interesting, this did not happen. And here we go. Yet in the 5th generation, a maiden of the Mathras line named Laiwan sought out the Wraith in his cavernous underworld. Deceiving him with a disguise herself, she challenged Molsh, who thought her a harmless, misguided child. By this time her people had reduced to permanent adolescence. Even at the perk of their lives, and though truly a youth, Laiwan was a great student of riddle and the tricks of the Laughing Wraith. Declaring herself, she wagered the remaining 5 generations of her people against Molsh's wit, and the greedy king took the play without contemplation. She gleeful So gleeful was he that when Leone proposed a further, Aunt Molch again complied. Your laugh, the maiden spoke into the soreness deep. If I outwit you, we Kiri shall gain your laugh, and you shall fall forever silent. Though Molch became solid at the thought, his hubris permitted him consider, but only for a moment. Agreed, he returned, in a voice like 1,000 vapors. This is basically also out of the books, The Maiden of the Lad. And it carries on. So basically, a 5th generation maiden in the bloodline of the original ruler of the Kiri, Mathis, came and basically wagered the last 5 generations to try and dispel this curse that they had. And it carries on. Yet threaten and travail as he might, Molch could not unwind her riddle. Trapped in his greed, the wraith surrendered his laughter, and the suffocating curse upon the Kiri was broken. Molch's laugh, for decades the haunt of every nightmare in the kingdom, was transformed to the emblem of his victim's joy, and the laughing wraith became the silent wraith forevermore. In that hour, their new namesake as Halflings took root, for the curse could only be halted and not undone. This 5th of 10 generations embraced their Halfling as a harbinger of mercy. So basically what happened is, this Molch got basically tricked and became forever silent, this wraith, and the Halfling's curse got basically put to a halt. It wasn't undone, but it got put to a halt. It stopped. Boom, that was it. It would not carry on. You know, the time period that they have, basically 5 generations, was put to a stop. And then it gets into the story now, how they came onto Terminus. Upon Terminus, there are evidence of the past still alive in Halfling society. The Esquaps, many of whom still carry the blood of Kiri nobility, have a high but sincere mind about themselves, and would return to Hirith and Kirin Sound if they could. Maiden Clan is an unrevealed group, even amongst the Halflings themselves, seeking to honour and the sacrifice of Luon. They care little for the internal affairs of Wild's End, often venturing far beyond it. The Nothi are an unrepentant wild breed. They fight, sing, and adventure with, as they believe, justified rebellion, embracing the youthful gift of the unfulfilled curse. Their heritage as wraith hunters is dreadfully serious. However, to avenge the wrongs of Molch, they persecute his ilk in every crevice of Terminus, chasing whispers that the silent wraith smoulders in secret somewhere among the realms. So that's basically the tale of the Halflings.
So far, it's probably one of the more intricate lores that we've heard.
So basically, it already states that there seems to be 3 factions among the Halflings themselves. The Kiri basically split up into 3 different factions. There seems to be a very adventurous one that seems to go and spread itself out as much as they can outside of Wild's End. Then you have the Icaps that basically would love to return to their home planet and to Kirin Sound. And then you have the Nothi, who seem to be the Hunters clan and seem to enjoy their youthful stance that they have. And they actually believe that this silent wraith, this Molch, basically also came to Terminus and could be hiding out somewhere. So that gives another twist and another plot, another idea for possible expansions, etc. A possible interest for a more in-depth story path on the lore of the Halflings. So, what do you guys think? Kodiak, your take from what you heard?
Well, let's have Lex talk, because he said he had a bunch of questions from the beginning.
Most of them were answered, but that was it, Beerith or whatever, the ones that were actually hounding the Halflings. It sounds like that's an opening for a new race, possibly something that could be similar to the Scar. The 3 factions actually just kind of scream a certain amount or a certain archetype, like the Esquab or whatever, however you want to pronounce it. It almost they're like the nobility. They're the snotty, look down your nose at everyone type. So you could definitely see them as casters, or at least in my mind. The Maiden Clan is basically the scouts. They're always exploring. They're probably going to be the rangers and whatnot. And then you've got the Nothi, which are basically the hunters, the ones that just want to find that wraith and just shred them.
Yep.
So if there is a warrior style class for the Halflings, because like I said, we don't know, I could definitely see them being part of the Nothi.
Right, so just to quickly go and bring in some stuff of interest. The Halflings came about in Terminus during the Frail Age, so basically the age we are currently in, 620 and between 620 and 622. People of interest that have an interest for that. So that's basically that. Hearing the lore, and let's go and actually speculate on these three factions. The Esquab, many carry the blood of the Kiri nobility and would return to Hirith and Kirin Sound if they could. If we look at the Halflings and hear that, what kind of Halfling would you see the Esquab be? They seem to have a higher interest of returning to their homeland and reliving their first town that they lived in. How would you see these Halflings present themselves in Wild's End in the hometown Sohirth?
The Esquab would probably be almost pushed aside and separate from society because they're better than everyone else.
See, I think that the playable race or faction would be the Nathai, right? Because and then like they would be battling against. It's like humans battling against bandits, right? Like they're still humans, but they're different factions, good versus evil, right? So the Squab are trying to find a way to get back to their home planet. Well, the Nothrai or whatever, the adventuring guys are battling against them. It's like a an ongoing battle. That's how I kind of see it.
Yeah, they're kind of like basically the scientists and researchers amongst the Halflings trying to figure out ways to find a way to return.
It's like the crazy wizard in the tower, right? They would be part of that race, or they'd be going against them.
Yeah, if they provide us with the option of choosing one of these factions for a character, and they give you a separate story, I could definitely see that Wob faction being like, you had to be a caster, obviously, but the whole storyline would revolve around making a portal to get back to their planet or something.
I mean,
or recreating their hometown or their home city.
Well, it could also be a possibility that you basically get to pick your heritage, your faction, basically. The backstory of your halfling. So you could say, right, I'm going to create a halfling, and I like basically the way the Esquab maybe approach themselves, or the Maiden Clan, or the Nothi, etc. And you could basically pick that as a background to your character's being. But it will
or they're trying to open a portal to let the wrath come through, and the other factions are trying to stop them, because why would they want to turn this world into the world that they were before, always on the run? Like some people like the old way, some people like the new way, and that's what they're battling against.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the first race that actually mentions more than one faction. And it's definitely interesting to have that from the get-go. It's something that I've always missed on the human side. You have the human race, boom, period, it's done. That's it. You got your human character, and it's either roll with it they become a very uninteresting, boring race. And we all know, as humans, there's more than just one kind of human on this planet, or on any planet basically throughout the games. You have the Nordic human races, the Vikings, etc. You have the Western civilizations, the Eastern civilizations, the Southern, etc. So it's always something I kind of missed is giving humans also a background of multiple factions as well. But anyways, get back to the Halflings and the Maiden Clan. An unrevealed group even amongst the Halflings. In honor of Leon, they care little for internal affairs within Wild's End and like exploring beyond it. It sounds to me that these are most probably the most outside of society, not
like
caring, like a secret society, not caring much for Wild's End itself, and they like to. They basically are the ones that seek out contact and actually go out and explore and put themselves in harm's way. And, you know, basically will stand up to an ogre and go, "Hey, what are you?" kind of thing. You know, they don't really care. They're out there to explore and have fun and see what's beyond this Wild's End.
See, I kind of see it as a different. Like, I see it like as like you guys would be part of the Nothai, you know, faction, right? And that's how you would start. And the Maiden Clan is like a secret shadow society that's trying to do something, and you've got to stop them. And same with the Esquibes, like they're trying to open portals to bring, you know, their fire god to our planet, and we're like, no, let's stop them. You know, like that's like they're all halflings, right? But they're different societies, different factions, and I mean that's kind of how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When I think like hidden group, I automatically go to the whole like Assassin's Guild because they have a good reason. They don't want people to know they're there. So to me, that screams rogue. That would also probably count towards bards a little bit, even though Nothi also incorporate that. But with the exploring, that to me for a halfling screams druid or ranger because they're just explorers.
Yeah. So let's carry on with the last ones, and then I'm going to go and devastate your thought processes here. Okay, the Nothi. Wild, they fight, sing, and adventure, embrace the gift of youth, wraith hunters, and believe the Molsh is somewhere within the realms of Terminus. So they basically believe that this wraith, this silent wraith, what they called it, actually came with them to Terminus and is hiding somewhere. They like to fight, they like to sing, and they like to adventure, and they embrace the gift of youth. So they like being young. So what do you think about those? That screams bard.
Yep. That's just like smear the bard in your face, like here it is. But that also to me screams warrior.
Yeah. The fighting part.
I would love to see a little halfling warrior. It's just as a Scaradar, I'd be like, oh my god, it's so cute. I'm going to put it in my pocket.
Oh god.
Just pick it up by its hair and it's swinging away.
What do you think on the part of this wraith maybe possibly coming through on Terminus legs? Makes for an interesting adaptation and something further on down the line for us to reveal or unlock or something.
That is huge. You could turn that into a dynamic world event. You could turn that into a story event. You could turn it into a raid. I mean, hell, you could turn that into an expansion.
Yep.
I mean, right there you've got like your big bad villain type, and he was thwarted, but he wasn't defeated. So he's still technically around, or at least there's no evidence either way.
Exactly.
So VR is completely open to be like, no, we don't want to pursue this, or you know what? Let's just let them loose.
Yeah. Kodiak?
I mean, I still think that the faction thing is like the. Hold on, I closed that window. Let me pull it back up real quick. The Nothai is going to be the playable faction. That's what the city faction is going to be. You know, so whenever you do something, that faction increases. And the Maiden Clan is going to be like Black Dagger Keep guys, or like the Shadow people. You know, ones that they've already showed in the streams. And then the Athai is going to be, like I said, some type of a wizard clan that's trying to open a portal to bring, and you're just going to be battling against your own faction.
Okay, so I'm going to go and put you guys all at ease, and, you know, your speculation here to some point at an ease, and also in chat. Sohirth, the home of the Halflings. This is from the Wild's End lore. The Halflings make their home in Sohirth, a winding, vertical and peculiar city built amidst the massive tower oaks of Wild's End. Here you will find the three primary branches of their people, the Esquap, the Maiden Clan and the Nothi, all living in relative peace, distinct but not segregated. The hollows and burrows mingle seamlessly with the titan trees, a testament to the Halfling skill of adaptation. While most travellers are joyfully welcomed here, the instinct of the host race are sharper than the daggers beneath their cloaks. So, while we do have these three factions, and they are distinct to one another, they live in relative peace with one another, and they're not surrogated by, hey, we're the adventurers that want to go and seek out, and we're the hunters that want to enjoy our youth, and we're the Esquab that want to go back. While that is part of their backstory, here in Wild's End, amongst themselves, they are a very connected, we live together and enjoy ourselves together race.
Yeah, they kind of have unity as a race, but they have their like three little factions that handle different aspects of the world.
So they basically, what they've done, they split it up and say, right, you guys are the ones that go out and seek what's beyond these Wild's Ends, and you guys, the Esquab, you look for things to help protect us and bring us, advance us further as a race. And the Nothi, you are protectors. You're the guys that are going to look out for us and make sure that this wraith does not come in here if he is there and destroy everything that we built up, because we haven't had a place to call home for a very long time, kind of thing. Is how it is. I'm looking
almost comes off as like city defenders.
Yeah. Wild's End, actually, this is actually part of the lore. It's not directly connected to the Halflings, but that's where the Halflings reside in Wild's End. Wild's End was actually feared by the humans for a very long time.
Because they're sissies.
Basically, and the Deicide War was hosted, actually. The final war was actually a part of Wild's End. The Deicide War is where it basically came to an end. Is part of the description from Wild's End. So it's definitely interesting. Wild's End sounds like a very mystical, dangerous place. I'll go and just read a little bit of it. Abandoned in the fading night of the Deicide War, Wild's End hosted a final salvo of skirmishes between the Revenant, the Sacred, and the Withered. Who are the Withered, you ask? Perhaps it is discovery you seek, rather than mere words, for in Wild's End the present perils are of ancient origin. While the scale of vegetation and wildlife reduces even giants to specks of flesh, yet from this small perspective the abundant rebirth of the landscape even further mesmerizes the beholder. From this maze of the grove grass to the tower oaks of Sohirth, even the insects that swarm about in between are exaggerated hulks. This land was a fitting beast to acquire the Halflings, with their familial culture and accord with nature. Wild's End, a land no other people found suitable, was a perfect home to a people who could suit any land. So it's definitely, Wild's End sounds really, really interesting, mystical, somewhat dangerous,
like that enchanted forest.
Enchanted.
People go in, but they don't come out.
Yeah, definitely. And the
one thing that I... Oh, sorry.
Go on, Cody. Yeah.
No, I was just saying the one thing that reading the lore and the fact that they're kind of like gypsies and they move around and they have to. I think adaptability is going to be huge for this race. Like they can go into different environments and adapt, or maybe not need as much resistance to whatever, because like I said, they're having from their home planet, just the fact that they spent hundreds of thousands of years, traveling and trying to adjust and adapt to the different, living conditions that they had to be in, that might be something that's a perk for them.
The most interesting thing that I really find interesting, that really gets me grasp behind this lore and wanting to know more about them. I won't play a Halfling. but I definitely want to meet them as soon as possible, because it's the race that is said you shouldn't read about them. You have to know them in person. You have to seek them out, and that sparks a high interest for me, because in other MMOs, the Halfling races, they weren't as interesting as these guys. You know, these Halflings, the backstory, the effort, the work that VR have put into this, you know, the lore of these guys, or any race, you know, like Dark Souls said, any race, all races have a great backstory, but it's this kind of intense passion to, you know, the writer that does the lore from VR that makes it really interesting. And I definitely want to go as soon as possible and seek out Wild's End, you know, and go and see what these Halflings really are about.
Yeah, I can see camouflage being an ability of theirs, like that they can just be hidden in plain sight type stuff, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go and get into some actual speculation, and that's what people are here for, to hear us speculate.
Food consumption might be lower.
The Halflings, I see them as a, if we look at alignments, evil, neutral, good. I would see them. I could not actually define if they would be a neutral race, more or less, or actually a proper, true good race. They definitely sound kind and everything. You know, that reveals that, you know, that they, it's part of their good heart. They welcome everybody. If I had to put it down to a choice, I would say it's a alignment of a good race, but they could also be kind of neutral. If from going through the lore and reading upon them, it's kind of a mix to see if they, you know, what they are, neutral, or are they purely good, or is it actually a neutral and good race? That's also a possibility.
Neutral good. Is
if you go from a D&D alignment kind of perspective, they scream to me chaotic good, meaning they do whatever the hell they want, but they tend to be more good than bad. It's just, you know, like, if I want to play a joke on someone, that's not technically evil, but I'm going to do it because I want to.
Yes.
But at the same time, I might help someone because they're starving.
I mean, because, you know, it's like in the lore, you know, they're tricksters as well. They like tricking people. Yeah. They like playing tricks on you, so, you know, that's kind of their mischievous behaviour that would put them in the neutral spot, you know, basically, hey, I'm going to play a joke on you, no hard feelings kind of thing. So, we're kind of on, you know, me and Kodiak are kind of on the same page, neutral good. Let's go and talk about classes for this race. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to bring up some stuff that was posted in our Discord on Pantheon Ideas for this show. And this was posted by Mortanos. Seems like the Halflings are musically inclined. Possible hints at Bard class.
Oh, strongly. Very strongly so.
Yeah, definitely screams Bard. It makes sense for you know, a Bard. I picture a Bard, basically like Asterix and Obelix. That what's that guy called in Asterix and Obelix movies? The one with the guitar, whatever it is that he's playing, or the thingy. It always gets tossed up in the tree and hangs there throughout the whole entire movie. That's how I picture, you know, the Halflings being basically mischievous, loud when they play music, fast on their feet, and it definitely does shout Bard. What's your take, Kodiak? You think Bard? For sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, once the bards come out, they're gonna probably be the #1 race for bards, because they're gonna have probably a high agility and, you know, dexterity. You know.
So, if we have a look at the classes from Pantheon.
I would say it's better to talk about what classes they're not going to be than what they are going to be.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's approach it that way.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Let's approach it that way. What classes would the Halflings likely not be? I think we can all agree upon Dire Lord.
That's right. They don't deserve it. They don't deserve it.
All right. So I think Dire Lord is definitely something. Obviously, that's, you know, more towards the evil, neutral kind of thing.
Yeah, no Necro, no Dire Lord. I couldn't see a Shaman either. I would definitely see a Druid. I don't know about the cleric or not.
I could see a druid, a shaman. I can't see a crusader. Warrior, yes, but not a crusader. It doesn't fit their style.
Trickster lifestyle.
Their trickster lifestyle, to be a crusader. Crusader's all about, holding up the law and, laying
being
the hand, being an upstanding citizen, and these,
never doing wrong.
Yeah. So wizard is kind of a given.
I'm gonna fly out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say no to summoners. But I will say yes to enchanters and wizards. But here's why. If with the nobility, they could look at wizards and enchanters almost like purists. They're dealing with magic in its raw form. With summoners, you're kind of doing a bastardized version of that. And I could kind of almost see the nobility side going, no, we're better than that. We manipulate magic directly. We don't have to contain it and summon beings to do our work.
Well, it kind of makes sense as well, because if you remember back, Kieran, the ward of fire, gave them their first magic, fire, flame.
Yep.
So it makes sense for them to be wizards and maybe enchantment. I can see there's a discussion going on now about monks. I have to be honest, I can actually see them playing monks, being fast on their feet, swift, tricky, etc. I can see them being more monk than ranger, to be honest with you, as a fighting class. Yeah, sorry,
with feign death and hide.
Yeah, more monk than warrior is what I meant to say. It makes sense for them, because monks, the way I see a monk is basically having a high agility, being very fast to move, and being all, he can basically completely turn his body into rubber and make the most impossible moves, like in Matrix, way back.
Well, they're young. They're young.
They're young.
Agile.
They're young.
Like
their bones don't hurt when they get up in the morning like mine do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Lucky bastards.
So if I was going to go and pick a fighting class per se, I would actually tend more towards the monk. A warrior I could see to some point, in leather armor with a wooden shield.
All three scout classes, the ranger, the rogue, and the monk, or what, all the DPS or whatever, they can think whatever. I would
monk
say
to me, it'd still be a little iffy, but
warrior, yes. Crusader, dire lord, no. Healers, I would say druids for sure, maybe shamans. Clerics, no. Casters, I would say wizards, yes. Enchanters, maybe. Summoners, no.
Shaman, the way I look at the shaman is the way I look at Wild's End. Mystical, enchanted, etc. Druid is about pure nature. And it sounds like Wild's End is something that even a druid would not understand, but a shaman would. The shaman's all about spirits and the mystical side of things, whereas a druid is all about the nature aspect, and even the insects and the wildlife in Wild's End is completely different. That's where I would see where I would support halflings playing a shaman, because the shaman, if you compare a shaman to a druid, the shaman's the wise, the old, spirited nature healing class, and the druid's more of the younger, more natural healing class. If you kind of get my drift, so I can definitely see druid and shaman. Cleric, I couldn't really see them playing a cleric. Being in plate armor.
When you think like clerics or dire lords or whatever, you think good versus evil, right? Well, this race doesn't scream, good versus evil.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they just scream almost a youthful tendency to play pranks, but still enjoy life. Like, don't take a prank too far, but just
Yeah.
You could see someone maybe putting a bucket of berries over someone's door. They open the door.
Yeah, exactly.
And, the berries tip on them. They both laugh.
Yeah.
Like, that was great.
They like to ding dong ditch people.
So let's go talk a bit about. Let's go and talk about how they live. We obviously know that they're going to be living high in the trees. So for everybody out there, EverQuest 2, etc., Kelithin, Feydark, that's how you can picture them living. Wood, definitely. Everything out of wood, mostly, and everything like that. Maybe a few stone monuments at the bottom, basically, with special lighting effects or something like that.
Using glowing moss or something.
Yeah, glowing moss and stuff. But definitely
shouts wood. Kind of like Avatar.
Yes,
well, like Avatar.
Yeah.
Like I say, I can almost see them almost being like your stereotypical wood elves. You know, they use nature. They don't destroy it to build things. They use what's there.
Exactly. Kodak, what do you think? How do you picture them?
Well, yeah, I mean, up in the trees, using the natural stone and wood that's already there. It would be cool because if their stuff from their planet came to Terminus, if they did have, like a glowing plant or something as a light source, versus an actual candle, like the humans.
Mm-hmm.
That would be kind of cool.
Maybe glowing moss on the ceilings.
Yeah,
I'd go in there and be like,
let me actually, because we're talking about the halflings and everything, let me quickly go and, carry on talking, guys, and I'm going to go and bring up the Wild's End video from VR. And,
that's right. I forgot that they had that.
Wild's End. Right, let me go and add a scene here. I need a display capture. And I want, is it number 1? Yes. So, I'm going to go and bring up this video real quick for you guys. And then we can...
Whoa!
Oh, there's the glowing flowers right there.
Yep.
I do like how it almost has this ominous feel to it. You kind of walk in there and you'd be like,
so
okay,
like
let's go slow.
Formed out of stone and not wood. The paths, instead of being tree to tree, it looks like it's kind of like a. Oh, there's your glowing rocks too, right there.
Yep. So that's basically what's been revealed of Wild's End. So we talked about basically what kind of classes they could play, how they would kind of live. What about their clothing style? Not in from a viewpoint of the individual classes, but as a race in general. As you can see here, they seem to wear a lot of leather and whatnot.
Probably have a lot of like ornamental decorations, like feathers. That are attached, maybe, because they just want to have fun, They want it so when they turn around and they start running, tassels are flying everywhere. Because it's fun to look at.
That's actually another good question from Glenn as well. This is actually something that we could basically speculate upon, maybe come up with some ideas. He says it's interesting that all these races were once alien to Terminus, and yet though different circumstances they wind up on Terminus. What draws these races here? Actually, definitely, it's really interesting. Obviously, somewhere has to fit for an MMO. These guys, VR trying to create a game. Could they have multiple? Because the world's called Terminus, it's going to be very hard now for them to break it up into maybe continents per se and have it split up like that. But it's definitely interesting. What brought them all to Terminus? Was the planets around Terminus maybe, where these 9 races were formed? Were there 9 planets around Terminus and that was the nearest one for them to get to or whatever? There's so much speculation.
What's cool is that they can always add a new kind of, let's say like a new race came to the planet or a new, civilization or some type of other cataclysmic event happened on the planet itself that now we've got new zones and new, I think it's brilliant what they did with the different shards and everything.
Yep. Scribble brings up wool-based clothing. I can actually see that as well.
Yeah, I could see hides. I could see wool, cloth.
Well, especially if they had a barbarian-ish background.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they'd want to be self-sufficient. They want to use what's around them, and they're obviously going to be sticking to probably a lot of woodland colors, so browns, greens, probably blues if you got feathers, and reds, maybe even a couple of. I can see them being very, very colorful. So even in just the equipment, the appearance of it, it's going to be probably a very wide variety in terms of colors and styles because they're not about conforming to one certain look. Whereas if you take the Scar, with all their spikes, their armor is going to be a certain way. Their leggings or their greaves, would only go so far because they have crazy bendy knees. So it's always going to be the same. Here, you could see bell bottoms, you could see low cut pants, you could see shorts, you could see regular things, you could see like the jeans with a half skirt kind of thing. I mean, you could do anything with these guys.
Right, so
crazy wild kids.
So I'm gonna bring in some ideas that were also posted on our Discord, and this was posted by Joshua. He thinks basically the halflings. This is some ideas on restrictions, etc. that they might that they could have. Should have fighting penalties due to the sight restrictions when using bows. They should have strength penalties when using certain melee weapons. Penalties may be offset by standing on higher ground or on the paladin's shoulders. As a joke. I can actually see that making sense. Having if they're on a higher ground, obviously they wouldn't have a penalty for of sight using their bow because they have the higher ground. But if they're on equal terms, equal levels, they should have a range deficit to some point. The same with the strength bonus. So picture a monk as an example, or a warrior with the sword and the shield and everything. It's got some weight to it, and it's going to be a balancing issues. Obviously, the smaller you are, the more balanced you are. That's how it is.
Well,
you
could say they can't use two-handed weapons or something because they're just not big enough to wield them.
Yeah.
Well, like I'll just assume they can be a warrior. A warrior is a very physically demanding class, so naturally you would think that a halfling wouldn't be so fit for a warrior role. But the thing is, again, we don't know the stats. We'll assume we've got dex and agility. Okay, you can give them decent-sized bonuses to both of those stats, which could influence evasions. You could make them maybe parry a little more because they're just faster. I mean, and it would still all even out.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe they can't use a two-handed weapon, but they dodge more than another race.
So,
right, but on the flip side, you're small. You're not going to be able to carry 400 pounds on your back like an ogre could.
So let's get back into some interesting thoughts by some of the people in our Discord. This comes from Mortanos, saying basically he has an interest as to why the Wraith was so interested in the ward's gift to his people. So what Kieran gave them, basically. Is it because Kieran was supposed to watch over the race and not the halflings? Jealousy? Not entirely sure. Also a very interesting viewpoint towards the actual lore of the halflings. Another one was really interesting as well. King Olin's path was never mentioned again. Does he still have his immortality? Did he die when the curse came to a halt? Did his people exile him? Also, another interesting viewpoint, another thing to think about. What happened to this guy?
That's what I think about too. Is when they're world clashed with Terminus, right? Who came with them?
Yep.
What's with this? Was their war still going on? Was the people that that whatever conflict was going on their planet at the time? Did it come with them to Terminus?
Because as we know, there were 6 wards on their original planet, to basically look after all these different, races. The Ferath maybe could, the Wraith, etc. What's with the other ones? Kieran basically disappeared. It wasn't said that he died or anything like that. It just said basically, it mentioned that Kieran disappeared, was never seen again. after that bout. So it's also interesting. What's with these wards? Could they?
Yeah, he's
possibly
gonna be a boss. He's gonna be a boss mob somewhere. I swear.
Yeah, so that's other,
Yep.
certain things to look out of. I'm going to have a look at something else. Think of stuff to say, guys, while I read through some of this, what I'm trying to find in
I
chat.
just saw what Glenn put there. But what are the other 5 wards? Are they elemental, just like the ward of flame? So that means is that the other ones, like wind, ice, and water, etc. I mean, if you were to say add those wards to an existing race, could it be that a lot of those races came from the actual same planet, if they knew it or not?
Yeah.
It's just so open-ended here that it's literally it's guesswork. It's fun guesswork, but it's still just guesswork.
So there was Svarti basically posted in our Discord. Another cool topic for the race discussion for the Halflings would be the culture, specifically music. What kind of music would this race have? Now let's go and base this off the actual music that we've heard on SoundCloud. And we heard the music in Wild's End. It was mysterious and everything. So how would you picture, when you go into their city, how would you guys actually picture the musical experience to be like? If you can kind of get behind that.
Very energetic, very almost like bubbly, I guess, if you could describe a music that way. Just very jovial, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find it going to be colourful sounds. I would hear basically, if I had to think about music-wise, a lot of wooden drum sounds, dense drum sounds,
Drums,
stuff like that.
Probably flutes or a fife.
Yep.
Lute, of course.
Yep. Definitely. What else can we talk about on this? We basically talked about the.
The one thing I wrote down when you were going over the lore stuff or whatever was, because we were talking about the generations, the 5th generation, 10th generation. So I'm wondering if the gnomes and the halflings had the same curse, but the halfling one got halted halfway through, and the gnome one was successful, and that's how they became spirits rather than, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I wonder if
there's
some
kind of tie in there between the two.
Well, we'll have to find out. We'll have to find out when we get,
like that'd be a cool.
Up on the lore.
Yeah.
It would definitely be interesting because, as it was mentioned, the 10th generation would become souls, and as we know that the gnomes basically are souls when they came to Terminus, and they had to take on cloth and stuff to form their human bodies, so to speak. They had to have something wrapped around them to keep their energy as they are in a certain shape. Otherwise, they would be maybe a bright light or something floating around or something like that. So we'll have to definitely when we get to the gnome.
Yeah, but had they not halted it on the 5th generation at the the young age that they are, whatever that they look like, would they not have? They would have turned into basically the same thing that gnomes are.
Well, we don't know. The gnomes is slightly different. Let me go and speculate on that, Kurt, while I quickly go and give a quick flyby on the gnomes.
Well, they're like a soul. They're not really a being. I mean, they're just a, like a bright light. Yeah, an essence of a being. They've lost their body form. So that's when I heard that the 10th generation, they were not going to have a body anymore. It made me think of gnomes. So then I was like, well, maybe they got the same curse. The gnomes got the same curse that the halflings got, but they didn't have somebody to stop it halfway through. They didn't have a god to come in and intervene.
Yeah, there are an awful lot of similarities there to just disregard.
So that was just my thought process when you were talking about the generations and the.
Yeah, it makes complete sense now that you say it, because I didn't even think gnomes, and now I'm sitting here thinking. So how would I tie that in?
What it basically says on the gnomes, just to briefly touch on it, it is a splendid irony that the smallest of the foreign races contains the most mystery. Peerless in understanding and wielding of the arcane, the gnomes are beings without true physical form, and this is where it gets interesting, due to events on their home world. So it could possibly be...
Yeah, maybe a god went from
it
the Halfling planet.
It could be that these so-called wards or wraith or whatever were on both planets. Maybe they were, you know, neighbouring planets or something. It's, you know, this when you go into this kind of speculation, what it sounds like to me, Stargate, the goo old.
Yeah.
You know, warning them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get transferred from planet to planet.
Yeah.
They curse both the races.
Exactly.
But like I said, if that one person hadn't stopped the Halfling race at the curse on the 5th generation, they would have ended up just like the gnomes.
Right. So basically, somebody in chat basically says that gnomes had to shed their physical body to not be killed.
But maybe the curse is what was killing them.
Yeah. So we'll have to basically, we'll get into that when we get to the gnomes.
Anyway, that's what I wrote down because that's what made.
It's interesting. I mean,
it's a very interesting concept. I mean, as if I look at that from the eyes of a story writer, I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, that's like a whole new door that I never even thought existed."
Yeah.
So let me bring in quickly the
disclaimer. If Terminus can pull worlds to it, why could it be that like a creature from Terminus couldn't travel between worlds to find new races to bring to Terminus?
What about
or gods that did it?
Guys, what about the dragonkind? Maybe it was the dragonkind that went out and did all this evil.
That's what I'm saying, because if they have the ability to bring other worlds and collide with Terminus or however they get there, how's to say that there's not a being on Terminus that goes and scouts these worlds previously to say, oh, we're bringing them here, or the reason why we're bringing them here, or or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring in a disclaimer. Voice of Terminus show has no affiliation with VR. We do not get paid by VR to do our show or anything like that. We are just as much community people like everybody else out there. Huge fans.
Pay them to put up with us.
Huge fans, helping spread the word, and also to help pass the time for us waiting to get into pre-alpha, alpha, beta, etc. To engage on ideas from the community, with the community, to help maybe also give the devs an insight of some ideas that come up and that they might not have thought about. That's why we do our shows. We have the Thursday show, which is the one today, where we speculate on everything Pantheon, and Tuesdays is more or less the news show. That's what that's what we're here for. That's what we do. So that's the disclaimer. VOT rock saws, okay. VOT rock saws, awesome. Yep, we're gonna rock. Yep. So that's a disclaimer, everybody. And getting back to anything else to add, guys.
All I can say is I'm super happy that we have such an amazing, refreshing take on something that is beyond classical. I mean, look at how long Halflings or Halfling-style creatures have been in games and books and everything, and it's always been relatively the same.
Hold that thought.
And now we have.
Hold that thought. Chat wants to know if Dark Soul Omega's picture was brought up here. We're going to have to go and show it again. This is for you, eDude52K. There you have it. Let's go and bring that up again. I think it's amazing. Dark.
It's funny as hell.
It's funny as hell.
The thing, dude, you're a G.I. Joe.
I laugh, but I hate it, but I hate you all at the same time.
Go, Joe!
G.I. Joe!
Yeah. So carry on with your thought if you can, Lex.
Well, it's just that, it's very encouraging to know that VR can take something so absolutely classical in the fantasy genre and put a whole new spin on it to where you look at it and go, that's a halfling. Well, what does that mean? Whereas if you go to every other game, it's like, you say halfling, you know exactly what
they basically redefined all the standard races that we know. The ogre have been redefined. the humans to some point have been redefined. The halflings, the gnomes, the gnomes are the most out of this world redefinition
Literally.
of this race. When you think about gnomes, you think about, you know, little dudes with bald heads, grey hair. Hello, come
I
here.
got it.
Go on in.
I
Go on
got
in.
it. All right, so there has to be a grand manipulator of Terminus, right? Somebody that is
Oh, here we
controlling the planets that are coming and and the grand manipulator of Terminus, the god's name is Bradzar.
Bradsaurus Rex or something like that.
Yeah,
Brachiosaurus
Bradzar.
Rex.
You know, Bradzar. He's the grand manipulator of Terminus.
Oh, actually, let's bring it. Actually, go one further and bring it in with his actual in-game name, Aradunus Rex.
There you go. That's the scientific term.
So he basically scouts these planets, finds these races, manipulates them, plays with them, politically, whatever you want to call it, whatever. Something happens, and then he brings them to Terminus, and he throws their world all upside down, and here we have a game.
Yep.
Yeah, the day that they release additional lore is the day I'm going to print it all out. I'm going to bind it in a book, and I'm just going to sit down and read it all.
Yeah, that's what I'm definitely doing. You know, this is what I love about VR. How they have put so much effort into the beginning stories to give us something to be excited about. You can actually see that they've put a lot of effort, a lot of thought into it, and I just can't wait. And I can understand maybe the reason why it's taken them a bit longer to release more, because of the passion that they're putting behind it, and ideas that are getting put in the forums and speculation, etc., etc. It's definitely really refreshing to read the lore on all these races that we already know from multiple games. And they've actually gone out there and had the nerve to go, why does a halfling have to be a halfling like every other halfling? Why does a gnome have to be exactly the same as every other gnome? Why does an ogre have to be seen as a dumb, large brute? Why can't they have an intelligent aspect to them? And and also obviously redefining some of the classes completely. The scar.
I'm just saying, if you think of like mythology, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Zeus and Hera and all these ancient mythological gods or whatever, you would think that Terminus would have kind of the same structure with playing with all these different races and controlling them and and stuff like that.
Yeah, and what's kind of interesting is the game is called Pantheon.
Yep.
Okay, so right there makes you think gods, but there's been very little mention of gods, like little quips here and there. Oh, they did this. Oh, they did that. But we don't really know anything about the gods at all.
Maybe the gods actually knew that their planets were going to be destroyed by their evil being, and because they've had an interest on these races, they brought them all to Terminus. And thought, hey, let's create a world where they all can get along and live out their natural lives for themselves. And there's so many ways that you can look at this, and this actually calls for a pure general discussion show on maybe these aspects, on the gods, on the other beings that basically destroyed their original planets and stuff like that. So talk about maybe possible boss monsters or interesting things that can be added to the game and further on the storylines of each individual race.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, like I said, how are the races or planets selected? There has to be a way that these gods know, and how are they brought to Terminus? Like, is it just a wormhole? Poof! Now they're on Terminus. No, I think there's
a shard of the planet.
I think there's definitely like some gods that are manipulating.
So this is
what's going on.
This is definitely interesting. Okay. We've seen halfling races in multiple games before. If we look at the Korean side, for instance, they do add little anecdotes towards the physical body of a halfling, like tails and stuff. Now we've seen the halflings from the front. We've seen the halflings from the front. I would despise seeing a tail.
And you don't want to see a foxtail.
Or pointy ears, or flappy ears and stuff like that. I do not want to see any of that added to this race. You know, keep them short or shortish. They're halflings. They're not entirely small, but they're not entirely big. And I actually picture them to be fairly tall. You know, maybe like a 12-year-old in that height, because they were from a nomadic race.
Halflings in EQ1 were more like hobbits. So I don't want to see that either. I think of hobbits being a totally different race, also. You know.
Yeah, I would much rather see them go cute but rugged.
Let me go and quickly bring Sintra up to speed. Right, the halflings, as we know them from the lore of Terminus, they were actually a nomadic race. So they were slightly larger than humans as we would know them. They were more like barbarians to some point, and they got cursed and became then, you know, slightly shorter. So while you might be disappointed that they look just like mini humans, they were basically similar to the humans, a nomadic race.
Just a cousin.
Yep, a distant cousin of the humans, basically. Gypsies, yeah, good, you know, good way to explain it, Frogs, or gypsies, kind of thing, you know, nomadic gypsies. So I'm not so disappointed after reading the lore. It kind of excited me, the background, where they came from, and how everything came to be that they became halflings. So that's a short explanation of the long show.
Yeah, the short version.
The short version, yep.
You've been waiting to say that short joke all day, haven't you, Legs?
Yes. I actually used that short joke for the tweet. Short announcement, the show's about to start. Yeah. Anything else to add? Anything from chat you guys want us to maybe talk about on the halflings? Otherwise, we'll call it for the night. We'll let chat catch up with us. And,
I think it just goes without saying. Refreshing, very nice, change of pace. Happy 100%, even though I'm not a fan of halflings or short races. Just from looking at the picture of the halfling that's above my head, I'm perfectly happy with that style. I think it fits it perfectly.
Yeah. So I guess go on, Cody. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just saying the good thing about the difference is, like I said, in the Korean halflings have tails and ears and all this stuff, and then the EverQuest halflings are more like hobbits. So this is a cool new twist on it, that they were actually like a cursed human race, and that's how they became, versus, you know, the normal that we're used to.
I mean, another remark that was made basically in our Discord, you know, on the Pantheon Ideas Discord channel, was, you know, when you hear the word halfling, it automatically shouts half of this, half of that. You know, half human, half whatever, you know, Darkmere, half Darkmere, half ogre, etc. That's what when you hear the word halfling. We all know that that's not the case in the MMO genre fantasy world. Halfling is, you know, either a gnome, really short guy, a fairy without wings, as I put it, and obviously a little more bloated up. They have round jolly bellies, and if they wore a red suit, they could pass as a mini Father Christmas. That's how I kind of picture my halflings.
One thing we haven't touched on is, like, it would be very interesting if certain races had bonuses to, say, perception in their native environment. So for a halfling in the forest, they get more pings on their perception. Whereas a scar would probably be.
I wouldn't say more. I would maybe say distance, range.
Can I just quickly clarify something in chat? Somebody asked about the VR stream, when the next VR stream is. On Tuesday, Brad will be at the Unite 16, I think, which is in Holland, the Unity conference gathering, and they will be streaming there. What they will be streaming, I don't know. We don't know. It could be something with Pantheon. It could be also more connected towards the Unity engine, but it will have something to do with Pantheon. It will not be the official VR Pantheon stream, but it's something that they will be doing at the Unit 16, the Unity conference.
They could be just showing us some technology that VR managed to do with Unity. It could just be maybe Brad walks up on the podium and says, "Yes, we're making an MMO using Unity."
Yep.
Yay! We don't know. We got to wait and see. Hopefully, they give us a little tidbit of Pantheon to kind of make us foam at the mouth.
Yep. And we will be basically watching that stream, and if a lot of Pantheon is covered in there or tidbits are revealed to us, we will be streaming right after that to bring it to you guys as a special coverage show again. We're looking forward to it. So you were saying, Kodiak, was something we didn't touch on?
Oh, I didn't.
No,
that was me.
Oh, that was you. Okay, go on next. Yeah. What was that?
Yeah, it would be interesting if races got a bonus to perception if they were in their native habitat.
And I said, because you said something about getting more perceptions, but I think it'd be more of a range type thing. Like maybe they can.
Well, that would incur additional. I call them pings. But we'll just say when you get the text pop up, that's what I'm referring to as a ping. You would get that more often if you are a halfling in Wild's End or in a forest, whereas a Scar, chances are he's not going to notice anything tromping through the woods. He's just sitting there going, "Damn insects, get away!" Whereas if you were in the desert, the Scar would be like, "I know what that track is."
They could also get perceptions related to size as well, to height difference. Everything that's on the floor in the lower aspect, because they're a shorter race, they would pick up on things that we would necessarily not see. Remember the second stream when they were in Black Dagger's Keep and they went past that pillar that fell over and there was a key lock behind it? They would pick up on something like that more quicker because they're imagery for stuff on the floor, like a child. A child sees stuff on the floor, the smallest penny that's lying in a gutter or on the side of the street. They pick up on that stuff, whereas we as adults don't anymore. I remember myself walking down the street as a little kid and seeing money on the floor or something of interest, and my parents didn't realize it because they were higher up. So I could see the perception also playing an aspect in stuff that might be hidden in sand a bit, or shining in the bushes and stuff like that. That's why I could see them having an advantage for the perception system.
Yep.
That, and also, like I said, as far as like environmental, because of the fact that they came from a planet where they had to travel a lot and they had to adapt, that maybe I think that they should have a higher adaptability for the different environments, as well as because maybe them being gypsies, maybe they didn't have a lot of food. Maybe they, it's not like they had a steady job and they had, 3 square meals a day. They may have had to, go days on end without eating. So maybe their food consumption is less.
I've got another question
as well. And they're small too, so they wouldn't eat that much.
So let's actually look at it. Another thing that interests me as well, them being swift, agile, etc. I could see them having a better jump distance. What about the environment, weather, etc.? What would affect this race more?
They're the last ones to know when it's raining.
You think?
I think they would have heightened senses probably.
Yeah. I think they could pick up on that. It's going to be, it's going to start getting colder. It could snow.
You could see, like with snow, you could see maybe a little bit of a movement decrease because it's kind of like watching a dog go through waist-high snow. He's jumping around, and you're just trudging through it.
Yeah. What about environmental impacts? Could they have them? Could they, have a better impact?
Well, I think, like I said, I think they would be more adaptable to the different elements versus them and it affecting them. You know what I'm saying? I think they would be more adaptable.
Yeah, seeing as I'm going to assume they're just going to be a distant cousin to humans, and we're basically just, maybe they share a lot of the adaptability.
Yep, so let's bring in a short joke. This one's presented by Glenn. Strong winds might blow them off their feet.
Want to fly a kite? Tie a string to a halfling.
Yep. Oh, God.
Lex has one tied to his belt. So that way...
Or you could use them as bait when you fish.
Anything to add, guys? Anything to add? Otherwise, I think we can call it for today.
Without going into absolute wild speculation that has absolutely nothing behind it, I think we covered all the bases.
Yeah. Okay, so we've actually planned out our shows until the end of January. I'm going to announce it already now, even though it's still a while away. We will be taking a Christmas break. Our last show will be on the 22nd of December until the 7th of December. We will be taking a leave of absence.
January
7th. January 7th of January. A leave of absence, a well-deserved break, and we'll bring that up when we get closer as well. Our next show is going to be about the ogres. So we're going to cover a few of the races and get that over and done with. And we will see you guys on Tuesday for Tavern Talk. You guys got any topic in mind that you think is of interest to be talked about as a hot topic? Send us a tweet. If you're in our Discord channel, send us, write it in our Discord channel.
Make sure you tag one of us.
Tag one of us, yep, exactly. Send me an email. My email, yanila@pantheon-vot.com. We're open to suggestions on, to help us also design the shows for Tuesdays. If you've got topics out there that you want us to talk about that might be of interest, let us know. And we'll see you guys on Tuesday, 4 p.m. And for all those people out there who've already kind of mentioned it, tonight is a round table. I'll see you guys there as well.
VIPs only.
Yep, VIPs
Tweet
only.
Tweet Yarnilla all your halfling jokes because we want to see them.
Oh yeah.
And if we get any funny ones, we'll share them next week.
Yeah, actually, you know what? You know what we could do? Screw that. What we'll do is we're gonna launch a competition. Send us your halfling jokes in. I'll get that all printed out and set up, but we're gonna do a competition for that. So it's now the 27th. Competition will start on the 1st of November and will last until the 9th of November.
Why don't we do any race jokes?
Any race jokes, yeah. Okay.
Dumb ogre jokes.
But keep it PG.
Keep it PG.
Yes.
Any joke from any race, send us your jokes. As of now, until the 9th, and on the 10th, we will announce the winner, and we will give away a Watcher's Pledge. There you have it. We'll do another competition. Great idea, Kodiak.
Yep.
Racist jokes. That's funny. We're gonna actually title that. We're gonna actually title our competition "Racist Jokes."
I don't think it counts. It counts when you're in our tie or something. That's not our.
It's gonna be Pantheon racial jokes. Just to clarify this a little bit.
Yeah.
Pantheon racist jokes.
Yeah. You gotta be careful with that word.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
so
like
people knocking at my door going.
When we do the
so
show,
you're doing racist jokes.
When we do the pre-stream, you got the race discussion. that's kind of on the line, race discussion. Yeah. So join us next Tuesday, and we'll have the information out by next Monday for the competition. For you guys who have joined us. You already know.
Takes off all the clothes.
Yeah. And with that, guys, Trump builds a wall around Wild's End. Oh, God!
And the dwarves pay for it.
And the dwarves are going to pay for it.
Yeah, the dwarves are going to pay for it, yeah. Yeah, that's funny. So with that, guys, thanks for joining us. It was a great show. We'll see you on Tuesday for Tavern Talk. And thanks for supporting us. We'll see you on Tuesday. Have a good night.
All right.
See you later, folks. I'll see you in the future.
Thank you.